The most important person in the whole wide world is you, and you hardly even know you. The most important person in the whole wide world is you. Come on, we'll show you. Let's find out more about the things you feel and do, 'cause you're the most important person in the world to you.
Hello, 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 and welcome to One4ALLisLove. And this episode, it's another Know Thyself episode, and we will be doing questions and answers with Sonya Spirit. That would be myself. And we will be going over some questions that I have received regarding Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich. As you can recall, or maybe not, last week, we discussed Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich. The first six chapters, and the audio was horrible on that also. I feel kind of bad about it, but I did have some questions that came out of it, and I guess I wanted to share the questions. And if you have your own questions, please feel free to call in to 323-642-1188. I would love to hear what you have to say. So Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, of course, it's really based on universal law principles. And so he talks about, how to use basically what we have to get what we want. That's it in a nutshell. But it's all about the mind. It's all about the mind. But some great questions came up. So I'll go ahead and jump off into the first question. It was, there are things I really desire or desired to occur, and yet it didn't happen. Why? So, of course, the conversation was centered around, Think and Grow Rich is about basically taking an idea and running with it, so to speak, okay, or a passion and running with it. But getting back to the individual's question, there are things that I really desired to occur, and yet it didn't happen. Why? And I've mentioned this before. So there's two components to our manifestation. Oh, first of all, before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to the universe. Thank you, universe. Thank you, universe. And also a good friend of mine, Tammy Madden. We went to high school together, and she lives in the Atlanta area as well. And we've talked recently. And my blessings go out to you, sister. We'll talk again soon. I love you. Okay. So getting back to the things, there are things that I really desired to occur, and yet it didn't fly. Okay, so what I was getting ready to say was there are two components to our manifestation process that we possess, okay, the two that we possess. And the two, and the two are the conscious and the subconscious. The conscious is basically the little thinking box that we have, or the box inside of our head that interprets our environment, the sight, sound, hearing, taste, and what's the other one? It'll come to me. Anyway, so those senses processes our experiences and the environment in which we live, okay? Probably no different than animals, so to speak. Now, our consciousness is not on the same level as animals. Animals have their own kingdom. However, our energy, our consciousness does affect animals. Animals don't affect our consciousness, but we do affect theirs. But getting back to the conscious, so conscious is only like 5-10%, depending on what you read or who you listen to. 5 or 10% of our mental capacity. And yet, just like the body, we give our waking mind, consciousness, so much power and so much credit. Just like the body, we actually identify with the physical body to the point where we think this is all that we are. And of course, it's the least of what we are. This actually goes away. It dies. It ages. And I know that, of course, if you're living in the spiritual realm and you've elevated and you don't age and all that's great. But I'm talking about the majority of people who probably won't reach that level in this lifetime. So yeah, the body is the least of who we are. However, it is still relevant. So let's not mistake that. And it's relevant because we get to have experiences. The body is designed to be the container, the vehicle, if you will, to have experiences in the physical world. So getting back to the question, I'm so glad there's a question because it keeps me focused. The things that I desire and yet they've never occurred, or they haven't occurred, or whatever. The two components, the conscious and the subconscious, need to be aligned. They need to be on the same page. If there is a conflict between the two, okay, so the conscious is the thinking mind, rationale, reasoning, that's the thinking mind, that's the conscious. The subconscious is feeling. The subconscious is emotion. Emotion is energy and motion. Okay, and that is critical because it is the energy and motion that takes the ideas, concepts, intangibles from the conscious mind and uses its motion, its energy and motion, to shape and manifest the physical equivalent of the conscious thought. And I've mentioned this before, but it's worth iterating. All of it is worth iterating. When we don't get what we want, desire, think we want, ask for, is because there is a conflict between the conscious and the subconscious. So even when I was talking about Napoleon Hill last week, the superconscious, which we will call God, okay, for lack of a better term, the superconscious can penetrate the conscious. The conscious can only penetrate the subconscious, but the subconscious can communicate with the superconscious. So interesting relationship there. The subconscious can only receive. It can only receive. It cannot give. When they are not in alignment, when they are not in agreement, manifestation either takes a long time or it never comes to fruition. And it doesn't come to fruition for various reasons. Usually because most people will have given up or changed their mind or feel differently about something. And that's one of the things that Napoleon Hill kept talking about the burning passion. Because once you give up, you've changed your mind. And even though you're not cognizant of it, you may have just stopped thinking about something. Well, that energy, the energy changes in your body. Our body is like an antenna, if you will. And it sends out signals and it receives signals. So when there is a change, when there's a change in thought, a change in feeling, there's a change in energy. There is a change in energy. So that's why you can easily change your energy, which is a good thing. So remember, what works for you can also work against you. But if you are cognizant, then when you see yourself slipping, you can catch yourself. Hey, do we have a person here? Hello, person? Let's see if we have a question. Hold on. Okay, we don't have a person. Our person is gone. All right, so let's continue. I thought we had an outside question. Okay, so that's why things do not manifest, because there is a conflict. But you have to understand, a lot of this is you're not even cognizant of. The conflict is, we call it programming. You can call it, well, I used to be in IT, so I call it programming, operating system, software, whatever it is I call them programs because that's what they are. Programs or conditions have been instilled in or impressed upon the subconscious. And this isn't just something that happened right away. You, as a spirit, as a soul, you already have I don't want to say preset, but you already have an awareness. However, when you come here as a baby, that awareness is not springing out. So you have to get to a certain point before the awareness is released, so to speak, as an adult, and you are fully into your own. So getting back to the subconscious and the conscious and the subconscious. So when they are not in alignment, when they are not in agreement, when they are not on the same page, kind of like a marriage or two people in a relationship, there is conflict, and you usually don't get a lot accomplished. It's like any other relationship. There's a relationship between your conscious and your subconscious. It's just that we identify more with the conscious because we actually think that's who we are, and that's, that in the body, and we think that's it. Whereas the subconscious, remember, all the power is with the subconscious. The subconscious is the one that can heal your body. The subconscious is the one that turns ideas, concepts, figments of your imagination, and convert them into physical things. Now, there's a lot being done, and this is important too. There's a lot being done with heart-head harmony. I know I've mentioned it before with Greg Braden, also with Joe Dispenza. And the reason why is because they know. And it's not just them. People are becoming more aware of how the process is working. And it's really not a hard sell because anything you want to know, God will tell you. You just have to ask. And then pay attention. Be alert. Be mindful. Okay. So the heart-head harmony is a practice of getting your head to align with your heart, so to speak. When we talk about the subconscious in terms of a physical organ, I relate it to the heart because that's usually where you feel that's where I feel my sixth sense. When I get that feeling that, hey, something's not right, don't do that, be careful, watch out, that sixth sense, that mine is in the heart. My heart starts popping out of my chest, and I know something is up. I don't know what it is, and I don't need to know at this point. I just know something is up, and I need to act. And I know that the universe will show me the way. But there's studies being done with heart-head harmony because it is critical. It's critical to manifestation, but think about this. There's a lot of research being done because manifestation is going to become a whole lot more easier once we unload all of our baggage and get rid of all of this negative and unproductive programming that is holding us back. And I know it's not done overnight, even though I talk about it like you should be able to take it off like you take off a shirt or a pair of pants. And for some, they will. It just depends on the individual and where you are in your life or on your journey, okay? But there will come a time where we will be able to instantly manifest, like when we talked about the movie Sphere. But let's be thankful, but we're not there yet because we have so much trash stored in our subconscious, many of us, I included, that we don't know how to work through it to be able to just instantly manifest positive, beautiful, godly type things. And if you're honest with yourself, some things you don't want to instantly manifest because it's harmful. It's hurtful not only to yourself but to others. And you definitely don't want that karma coming back on you. So to answer the question in a nutshell, to recap, things don't always manifest because there is a conflict. Like once before, I mentioned, not last week, but probably a couple of episodes ago, why people don't become millionaires who say, I want to be one, or I want to win the lottery, or I want this, that. Your conscience says you want it, but your subconscious has already been trained, programmed, and conditioned to say, we can't afford that. How many times have you said that consciously? We can't afford that. That's outside of my budget. That'll never happen. I can't have that. Or whatever language that you use. Now, I don't use language like I don't deserve, because I feel like I'm deserving of anything that I want. I'm the opposite. I'm the person who wishes for things and don't always get them. But I know what my problem is. First of all, head-heart harmony. I still have programming baggage too. But my biggest thing is indecision. Not that I'm indecisive, but I change my mind. So I'll focus on one thing, I'll be consumed, and then it'll shift. Well, and as soon as it shifts, guess what? So does my energy, and now this becomes less of a priority. Also, anybody who's ever been in IT knows how, like, amplifier. We use an amplifier. I think I was thinking of a hub, but a hub doesn't really amplify. I think it's something else that amplifies the signal. But anyway, we'll just use the amplifier because most people are familiar with music. Shucks, now I done lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. So yeah, when you change your mind, your energy changes, and now the signal that you were sending out, as far as this is what I want accomplished, or whatever, this is what I want, and then you switch. Now you're focusing on something else, and all your energy is directed towards that. Well, now the energy that was over there is moved, and it's not working as hard to manifest that anymore. So that's why heart-head harmony is important, and meditation. And I'm not saying spend an hour meditating, but spend 5 minutes, spend 10 minutes, but just spend some time, quiet time, trying to silence your mind and come into oneness with spirit, oneness with God. Or you can focus on the head-heart harmony, or you can just focus on you being a spirit and becoming one with God. But that is the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing. So that's why I say it's important to learn to be the authority over your energy so that you can manifest what it is that you want. Okay, and you don't want to, when you lose sight or get off track, you can refocus. Because if you don't know how your energy works and how things are manifested, then you won't be able to do it. You won't know how to make the necessary adjustments or changes. Okay. So I hope that that helps. There's a lot to it, but like I said, Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, and I'm sure there's some others out there. My little doctor friend, I love Bruce Lipton. So all of them talk about, heart-head harmony and the power to manifest. Okay. Another question that I received was, I was taught that faith is when you pray and let it go and trust that God will deliver. Doesn't that conflict with the multi-step process and daily iteration of Napoleon Hill's in Think and Grow Rich? So in the first 6 chapters that we covered last week, there was a 6-step process about how to, it's almost like how to manifest money, I don't want to say quickly because that's not appropriate. But it was a 6-step process, and let me see if I can find my notes. It had to do with the first thing is pick a denomination. Okay, so almost you have to know what you want. Okay, so this was a thing for manifesting money. So pick a denomination. Then you write it down, and you say what you're willing to sacrifice for it. Now, I got some pushback on that too. Okay, so yes, first, fix in your mind the exact amount of money you desire. It is not sufficient merely to say, I want plenty of money, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so he says be definite to the amount. There's a psychological reason for this. The second was determine exactly what you intend to give in return. So the exchange or the sacrifice, whatever you want to call it. Third, establish a definite date when you intend to possess the money you desire. So basically have a deadline. Fourth, create a definite plan for carrying out your desire and begin it at once, whether you are ready or not. Now, I did appreciate that, to put this plan into action. Fifth, write out a clear, concise statement of the amount of money you intend to acquire. Name the time limit for its acquisition. State what you intend to give in return for the money, and describe clearly the plan through which you intend to accumulate it. And then 6, read the written statement aloud twice daily, at night before bed, and in the morning when you rise. So, and he didn't really say how long to do it, but I suspect if you're doing it twice a day and you have a deadline, you'd be doing it twice a day until your deadline. That's what I would suspect. So going back to what the individual who I spoke with had inquired about, because they have a Christian background, and so they were taught about faith in a different light, which is fine because it's still valid. To pray, have faith, and let it go. And Napoleon Hill also talks about faith, okay, and how important faith is. So he definitely doesn't discount faith. But faith for him is more of a knowingness. Well, and to be quite honest, so is my friend's question. Their faith is a knowingness. I was taught that faith is when you pray and let it go. So basically, she prays, she let it go, and she trusts or have faith. Faith is stronger than trust. But trust is a good place to start if you're not fully faithful. But I have faith that God will deliver, that it will come to fruition. Now, believe it or not, this second question actually kind of ties into the first one, or at least the answer of the first one. When you pray or meditate or make a statement, command, request, whatever you want to call it, the language is not relevant. You are communicating with the God inside you, okay? Your subconscious, the God inside you, whatever you want to call it, okay? And you let it go because your faith says God will deliver. What's really happening here is there is an alignment. Just the word, by the fact that she used the word faith, her faith was strong, and I knew her faith was strong. So we were just talking about heart-head harmony. Her conscience doesn't spend a lot of time second-guessing, questioning, trying to figure out on its own how to handle the situation. 9 times out of 10, all of that has already been exhausted. Generally, this doesn't apply to everyone, but generally, for many people, prayer is not the first course of action. For many people, prayer is the last course of action. And basically, whether you realize it or not, you have resigned to say, my conscience can't figure it out. So spirit, universe, subconscious, whoever's running the show in the sky or in the ether, I need help with this. Now, if you are a person who grew up in faith and understand and has been indoctrinated with faith and actually saw it practiced, then yes, you will make your statement, your request, your prayer, your meditation, and you will let it go. And your subconscious and your conscious will be in alignment, and then your subconscious will go and make it come to fruition. The reason this is, so it works. You can do things. Let me say this. There's more than one way to skin a cat. So there is not just one way, just like there is not just one faith. There is not just one way of doing something, period. Oh, and I could go into like the way genes work and cancers and paths and why some medications work and some of them don't. And that maybe is a story for another time. But similarly here, there are different ways of accomplishing something. Now, the part where to pray and then let it go is for someone who has very strong faith. They don't need to see a God with arms and legs, or they know they have lived through miracles. I've lived through some. So you know when you say something to let it go, and you know God is going to take care of it. You know the subconscious is going to work with the universe to make it manifest physically. So you can let it go. Your subconscious is already on board when you can let it go. So your actions will actually tell you what's going on inside your head. When you can pray and let it go, then your mind, your conscious and subconscious are pretty much in good alignment. You have strong faith, and all of that is inside your subconscious. Remember, the subconscious is the one that says, we don't do this. This is new to us. I'm not familiar with this. And we were talking about iteration. And that's what Napoleon Hill is talking about. He's talking about reprogramming, reconditioning the subconscious. If you hold a consciousness of poverty, of not being deserving, of lack, of money is the root of all evil, if you have this type of programming in your background or your life, period, to shape you into the person that you are today, that's when practice, iteration, rituals, habits, and don't get put off by the word ritual. Brushing your teeth every day is a ritual, okay? It's nothing spooky about that, so let's stay focused. But it's the programming that you have to get rid of. So that's where iteration comes in, okay? Because your faith isn't stronger than that negative thought or energy that is embedded or instilled in your subconscious, which causes it to not act or act in such a slow manner that it appears to be nothing happening. So what Napoleon Hill is saying is, listen, if you don't have faith, if you don't have, if you don't have the courage, if you are somewhat fearful, then you need to start programming yourself. You have to start believing in yourself. And you need to, and that's why the series is called Know Thyself. Everything begins within. Everything begins within. So, if you know something and you feel it, then say it and you can let it go. And the universe will take care of it. But if you are riddled with doubt, with fear, with anxiety, with thoughts that you can't or lack, then that's where writing stuff down, like when he talks about his 6 steps, that's where writing out a plan, coming up with a plan, writing out the plan, because this helps you stay focused. And when I say you, we're talking about your conscious, because if the subconscious, if the subconscious is not buying it, then it's not going to come to fruition. Then the mind starts saying, the conscious mind, I guess we're not going to get that. Guess we don't deserve that. Maybe no, that's not happening. So we have a responsibility to know ourselves and know how to change ourselves, okay? And we have to program ourselves. And people are doing it all the time now. That's why there's so many people meditating now, because they do want to take back their energy. They do want to be the authority over their own personal energy. We all have an energy force field around us, which is a magnet. And we attract who and what we are, not who and what we want. So we can sit here and say, I want to be a millionaire, but if you have a consciousness where you abhor money, or you don't think you're deserving, you lack confidence, that translates in your energy. That's why I was saying before in a couple of episodes, not this one, that there is no hiding place. That's why you have the sayings, whatever you do in the dark will come to light, because that energy attracts who you are, what you are. And if you want to change that, then you have to start programming yourself. And it starts with like affirmations, and we make fun of them, but also visualizations, images, concepts, songs. You have to reprogram yourself. So the question is not incorrect, and it doesn't conflict with anything. There's just more than one way to accomplish something. If your faith is strong and you know you can say something and know that God or the universe is going to deliver, then that's all you have to do. If that's been working for you, then you stick with that, because you have unloaded a lot of baggage as far as your portal or channel to the superconscious is concerned. Okay. So I hope that helps. And if anybody's out there listening, feel free to call in 323-642-1188 if you're live and on my side. Okay. All right. Another question that I had, it had to do with Napoleon Hill when he talked about burning bridges. He was talking about Barnes, Edwin C. Barnes, the guy who wanted to be partners with Edison. And he talked about, he discussed in the book how Barnes would not accept anything other than what he wanted, what he desired as an option. So for the most part, he didn't know Edison, but he ended up meeting him, and he was offered a job just because. It's interesting because the way it reads in the book, in Hill's book, is that Edison either noticed, identified, felt. It was something about Barnes that set him apart as somebody who's just not just crazy, okay? And that's our energy. Just so you know, that's our energy. That's the same way you can come get close to someone and they just do something to you, whether it's good, bad, if it's good or bad, indifference, you won't even notice. But if it's good or bad, someone can just irritate you that you don't even know. It's just something about them that just turns you completely off. That's their energy. And there could be another person that comes in the room and they absolutely excite you and you ain't even spoke to them. Now, of course, we're inclined to say, oh, it's the way they look or it's the way they smell. And that is part of it, but it's really their energy that puts them on the radar. Okay. So we need to be I don't want to say it. We must become Well, what's the difference? We must become the authority over our energy. Okay, but getting back to burning bridges, what Napoleon Hill was talking about was don't settle for less than what you want. And Barnes could have easily settled for less. Barnes could have, when Edison offered him a job, he took the job. But in Barnes' mind, it was only a stepping stone. It was an opportunity to get to know Edison even better. That's how he saw that. He never said, if this doesn't work out, I guess I'll go back to doing this, or maybe I will try that. For him, there were no other options. So, of course, the question was burn bridges. I was told that, the opposite, to not burn bridges, isn't this more harmful than helpful? If you don't know what you want, if you are not focused and passionate about your direction, yes, it can be harmful. You don't know, okay, and when they say burn bridges, they're not talking about hurting anyone or being rude or anything like that. It's, it's not turning back. Especially if you've done something already, you've done it. If something lets you go, or you let something go, however the situation plays out, it's time to move on. And that's not easy for us, especially when something lets us go. Now, as someone who generally does the letting go, I never put a lot of thought into this. Because I just felt like, I'm riding the wave. I'm a Gemini. So I'm riding the wave. But when something has let me go, I have a tendency to pay attention. So it happened with me teaching online. A situation arose, and let's just say the relationship no longer existed. Well, it wasn't necessarily by my initiative. So, like anytime you kind of get dumped, it's like, what is it me? Don't look at that. It took maybe a handful of days. I can count them on probably 2 or 3. Because in meditation it came out, listen, it's time to move on. You will get caught up in this, and you could do this for the rest of your life, and because it's easy. But it's not what you want. It's not why you're here. And I had to accept that. So I said, okay, well then what am I doing? And that's another conversation. But my point is this: when something happens, learn from the situation. Now, like I said, the whole burning bridges thing doesn't have to do with being rude or, not cutting folks off or anything like that, relationships or business relationships. But it's basically the burning the bridge is not allowing yourself to settle for less than what you want. Because Barnes, like I said, Barnes could have easily have accepted just the job that Edison gave him. He could have easily have given up and just went back to, I want to say New Jersey. But he didn't. He was bent and focused on what it was that he wanted to accomplish, and he wasn't willing to accept anything less or entertain other options. Remember, when we talked last week, quitters never win, winners never quit. As soon as you quit, you've lost. And that's another story. Okay. All right, so we get with burning bridges. There are ways of burning. The burning bridges is not, like I said, it's not meant the way we think of it in terms of, cutting people off, severing all ties. It's allowing yourself to stay focused and not settling for less, not giving up, not quitting. And so that's what we need to bear in mind. So stay focused. And it's interesting that he actually used the term burning a bridge because he talks a lot about burning desire, which of course I call passion, which leads us to another question that came up. The question was, there are things I intend to accomplish, but I don't necessarily feel passionate about it. Is passion a necessary ingredient? The short answer is no. It is not a necessary ingredient. To accomplish things, it is not necessary. It is necessary when there is something that, passion, in my opinion, for me, it's always come from the inside out. But getting back to the question, though, it's not a necessary ingredient. People accomplish stuff all the time without passion. And people do things as an ends to a means. People go to work every day, and it ain't because of passion. It's because they got bills to pay. So things get accomplished all the time without passion. Passion is that driving force to make you move, to get you to do something. You can have an idea, and you've probably had 1,000 of them that you could have capitalized off of them, but none of them moved you enough to do anything about it. Passion will. Passion will take you to the next level, especially if it is something that you think is really bigger than yourself. And you think about like some of the stories that he tells about people, like the story about his son is good. The story about his son born without ears. And basically, he being Napoleon Hill, impressed his will on his son as a baby, as a child, all the way until he became an independent adult. And he impressed upon his son not only his energy, but all kinds of affirmations and subliminal messaging, songs, everything, to instill in his son, I wanted to use a different word than instill, but whatever, that he's not handicapped, but he didn't use those words, because once you introduce that language, then, but no, he focused on what he wanted, which was for his son to hear. Excuse me. He wanted his son to hear. And even though doctors told him that it was not physically possible because he didn't have the equipment in terms of our physical bodies, he didn't have the equipment, not the outside ears. It was something internal that actually it was missing that makes the sound or whatever. That okay, you'd have to read the story, the book. But anyway, but he impressed upon his son's subconscious as well as his conscious, but the conscious is just to program the subconscious. You get the iteration, okay? And to where his son actually began to hear. And it started out slowly, and it was interesting because it was a technique in which they could put something on like against a bone, and he actually talks about it. Like I said, you have to read the story, but it started out with vibrations, and then he could hear, and then it grew into he ended up going to work for like a company that made these devices that allowed him to hear. And of course the doctor told him that technically those devices should not be able to work for his son because his son, once again, didn't have the equipment. But listen, the only limitations that exist are the ones we impose on ourselves. God is everywhere, everything, and all possibilities. Before I'm possible, everything is possible. The only time something doesn't exist is when we don't allow it to. Now, I'm not talking about instant manifestation, okay, but I'm talking about over time. And over time, Napoleon Hill wanted his son to hear. He impressed it upon his son's subconscious. He always spoke to his conscious about it until it came to fruition. And it was passion that drove him. The passion for his son to be normal, to be able to function normally in this world. The passion is that burning desire that keeps you going. We talked about perseverance also, but the passion will definitely get you started. Perseverance will get you over the hump. But passion is that drive, that energy that forces you to act. And when I say force, I don't mean against your will. I mean energy in motion, that type of force. So passion provides the necessary drive and oftentimes longevity. Now, passion can die out, and that's where perseverance comes in. But by this time, hopefully you've programmed your subconscious, and you can continue to keep chugging along. Okay. All right. Let's see. So I hope that answers your question about passion. No, you don't need passion to accomplish things, but you do when it's something that is bigger than you can imagine. Because passion will keep you focused with faith. All of all of those energies bind together, and you want that. You want to house and host that energy, and you also want to be the authority of it, so that you can direct it and shape it into whatever it is that you wish or will to manifest, to come to fruition. Okay. This one was a different person, but, these are various people, but a couple of questions came from one person. But this one was, will my past come back to haunt me when I choose to follow my passion? And I thought that was entertaining. Because, of course, he was speaking on cause and effect and karma. The thing is this, I keep saying but the thing is this. We all have to remember, God is not a punishing God. The universe is not punishing us. It is correcting or reharmonizing the energy. Okay? So, but our experiences are experiences. So whatever energy we put out, it's the boomerang effect. It's coming back. Okay? Now, I say that, but there's also, we'll say an out. If you have robbed banks, and let's say you robbed several of them, and then you decide to open a store with your ill-gotten money. No, I'm kidding. But let's say you invest your money, and now you're a big business person. Boo, woo, woo. There will be karma. You will have a karmic debt to pay back. If you learn from your lessons, because this is what it's all about, when you learn from each experience, the universe don't keep replaying or bringing back the karmic debt. If you've learned, and you can't trick the universe because it's all about your energy. So the universe knows. That's going back to what you do in the dark comes to light. The universe knows there is no tricking. There is no tricking the universe. You can trick other people. You can trick yourself. but you can't trick the universe. You cannot fool the universe. So once you've learned your lesson, then you will continue to move on, because there's no more concern that you will keep redoing or replaying or keep behaving in this manner. Now, of course, most people don't put that much thought into it. They commit their crimes and they keep going. They're not thinking about karmic debt, or if I pursue my passion, will my past come back to haunt me? They're not entertaining that. And that's why you hear about, like, companies going down, or, because it's built on, it may be built on bad energy, bad experiences, and if you don't learn when it comes back around, if you're still trying to, rip people off, or not sell them a good product, or undercut them, or lowball them, or get over, listen, you're not getting away with anything. You might be buying yourself some time, and that's probably about the extent of it, but you're not getting away with anything. So, and even if you do something, well, that's another story. Okay, so the point is, yes, you will have to pay back your karmic debt. However, it's not like there's a 1-for-1. For every crime I committed, that is going to be a debt that I have to repay. If your crime, or I don't even want to keep calling it crime, let's say if your actions is something that you've done over and over, and then you've learned from it and you have grown from it, then you won't have to experience that over and over. And listen, all that is, that last question, and I started the conversation with this, all that is fear. Don't be afraid. The universe don't want you to be afraid. And remember, fear and the two modes, fear and creativity. Fear is survival. So doubt, fear, all of that is on one end of the spectrum, and creativity, growth is on the other end. So you have to let go of the fear, you have to let go of the doubt, you have to let go of the ill will, in order to pursue your passions. You want to be focused on your passion, what it is that you want to accomplish. Now, some people, listen, they can do wrong and they have no guilty conscience of it. And all that's well and good. And it might look like they get away with it in this lifetime, because they might get away with it in this lifetime. But then they'll come back in the next lifetime, and all kinds of stuff will be happening to them, and people will be sitting around. Hopefully they won't, but people will be sitting around like, oh, that poor person, oh, he or she is a victim. No, he or she is not a victim. This is some karmic debt from a previous lifetime, if not this one. But do not allow your past to stifle your growth. Because if you're not growing, you are dying. God is all about growth, expansion, and being limitless. If you are living in fear, if you are living in doubt, you're not living in the present, for starters. You're not living in spiritual energy. And I know, I said like you should be able to shake it off easily, and over time you will, and that's why we keep addressing it, because it's really the same things we're facing every day. We have to let go of the doubt, the worry, the fear. So here's an example, and it's small. So start small. Now, and I'm sure. Here's something that I've done for myself. I don't know, maybe like a week. I left the doors unlocked on purpose. I remember when Roger Moore was doing Roger and Me, and he went over to Canada, and he just walked into these people's houses. because no one locks their doors in Canada. Excuse me. So, and I always tell people, if you own a gun, then you really don't have faith in God, because it's a fear. It's fear. You have a gun because you are afraid. You are afraid that someone is going to do harm to you. And why we're afraid that someone's going to do harm to you? Because the news tell you everybody's crazy. But nothing will happen to you that shouldn't happen to you. So I said, what's something? It just came to me one night when I was checking the front door. And I was like, why are you locking the front door? You're afraid someone's going to come in here and rob you or worse, kill you? Yeah, these are not good thoughts to entertain, but I did. So I said, so are you afraid or do you have faith? Now, I'm not advocating that everybody does this. This is just my thing, and I'm sharing it. So I left the doors unlocked. And now in that moment while I was deciding it, it was a thought. But once I went upstairs and went to bed, it wasn't like I couldn't go to sleep because I'm thinking somebody's like, I was knocked out in no time. And I didn't even think about it the next day. And that's the approach that I realize I need to take with everything that is hindering me. Let it go. Face your fears. Do not allow your fears to encroach on your creativity. They cannot exist in the same vein. They do not coexist. So if fear is present, creativity and growth is not. When creativity and growth is present, fear is not. I enjoy growth and creativity. I enjoy the feeling of it. And that's what I want you to focus on. It's the feeling of it. The feeling of creativity, the feeling of growth, the feeling of expansion, of awareness, the feeling of being the best that you can be, the old Army logo or motto, being the best that you can be, without fear, without doubt, with confidence, with a knowing, with faith, that your energy and God's energy are already intertwined. We are co-creators with God. All right, boys and girls, I got 2 minutes left. This machine is going to start screaming at me soon. No one called in, but that's okay. You don't have to. You can just email me or text me like you've been doing. Next week, we will complete Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And we'll probably have another session of Q&A after that one, just because some other thoughts have come to mind about the whole process.
90 seconds.
About the whole process of like his writing down things and the ritual behavior. I had spoke to an instructor of mine, but it just so happens I was talking to him the day before he was going back to India for a few weeks. But he was talking about how it's manipulating energies on the astral plane. Now, I'm not at that level yet, but when I find out more, I'll be sharing it with you. In the meantime, know that one for all is love. One for all for one, and all is love. So have a great week. Until next Wednesday, happy hump day. Be kind to one another. Love it yourself. And get to know yourself. Know yourself. And that's all that I have. This is Sonya Spirit signing off.